With support from the Wallace Foundation and some of our partner districts across the country, we've had the terrific opportunity to think about how to move our research into what some call performance standards, or definitions of the principal supervisor role that districts might consider using to inform how they define those roles and how they help principal supervisors be successful. Our development process had 3 phases. First, we started from the research to define what principal supervisors do. We wanted to use empirical research that detailed what principal supervisors actually do that researchers have associated with principals' growth as instructional leaders, and studies that used rigorous methods. At the time of producing the standards, our studies happened to be the only ones available that fit these criteria. Other research on principals learning supports our findings, so we consider this research base more robust than only 2 studies. We also turn to research to help us define levels at which principal supervisors might engage in those practices. We find some performance rubrics are fairly loose in their definitions of novice to expert practice, but strands of sociocultural learning theory in particular provide measurable definitions of different levels of novice to expert practice. So we like the definitions from sociocultural learning theory because they were fairly precise and measurable. They also come from volumes of studies across various arenas, so they're quite robust and relevant across settings. We've used them in our own research to measure change, so they're research-based in that respect as well. We also like them because they capture a trajectory of learning, stages of development researchers have found people pass through on their way to mastery in different areas. We think the emphasis on principal supervisors' growth is important, since principal supervisors have challenging jobs, and we find that the best ones learn their way into those roles in ways well captured by the learning theory we used for our standards development. So we consulted extensively with research, but then we turned to practitioners to explore such key questions as, are we getting the standards right? Is the wording clear? Are we missing something? Our practitioners included a panel of experts from districts across the country. We also talked extensively with members of a team of policymakers and practitioners convened by the Council of Chief State School Officers to inform the development of national standards for principal supervisors as part of the ISLIC refresh process. Then we started to develop instruments, such as surveys and observation tools, to capture principal supervisors' work along these standards. And as we developed the instruments, we revised the instruments and the performance standards iteratively. For example, in developing survey items about principal supervisors' engagement in particular teaching moves, we learned some things about what language to use to describe those moves. We then used that information to adjust some of the language in our standards. The instruments we developed iteratively with the standards are listed here. They include an annual survey of principals, a tool for principal supervisors to conduct peer observations with one another, an observation platform to help the supervisor of the principal supervisor conduct extensive observations of principal supervisors, and an annual survey of principal supervisors themselves. You can find more information about these tools on our website.